Okay, welcome to My Sister's Keeper, the podcast where we amplify the voices and stories of women of the global majority. This is a space centered to inspire, empower and connect women who are breaking barriers, defying all odds and rewriting the narratives in their lives and careers. I am your host, Ray, and each episode I'm aiming to sit down with remarkable women who are challenging the stereotypes, pushing through obstacles and leading the way in industries from tech to the arts. Hopefully, through honest conversations and shared experiences, My Sister's Keeper aims to shine a light on the unique journeys, cultural identities and resilience of women who are indeed shaping the world. So whether you are looking for career inspiration, personal growth, or just a community that understands your own journey, you're in the right place. Join us as we celebrate sisterhood, explore new perspectives, and uplift voices that deserve to be heard. So on that note, I am welcoming you to the My Sister's Keeper podcast. Way. Right. Our first series, I've titled it The Climb, Defying Workplace Odds as Women from the Global Majority. And we have our first guest, an amazing woman who is indeed rewriting the narratives of her own life, breaking barriers and defining all odds. So I welcome Christabel. She's a forensic accountant, career and DEI coach with 12 years corporate experience in her belt from global giants such as JP Morgan, PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Deloitte, alongside many government institutions that she's worked for. Well, hey, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for honouring the invitation.
No worries.
I'm really, really happy that you're here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I do have a bunch of questions to ask you. Okay, but before we go into all of that, do you mind just telling us a bit about yourself, your journey, what has inspired you, what has your journey looked like so far?
Oh, gosh, what a question. So I'm going to find a way to compact 12 years in like 2 minutes. The start is growing up in East London, born and raised from a Ghanaian background. And I guess one thing that I always saw and knew that I had to be a part of was like really strong work ethic. And just making sure you kind of put your all into the work that you do. So I would say that I definitely got that from my mum. But yeah, born and raised. But I would say a quick story and reason why I felt like I ended up in corporate. So from my quote unquote my tower block in East London, I could always see Canary Wharf. And obviously back in the day, it was the normal Canary Wharf, not the HSBCs and the other ones. I think they were built later on, but I always see and I always say that I'm going to work there. And I was less than 10, I was quite a young woman, and obviously because of TV, you knew what was kind of going on there. So anyway, fast forward, I ended up working in for a company at least that was in that area. And I think this is why vision is so important. If you have a vision when you're younger, and also when people pour into you, when you have the foresight that you can do it, you being in that space is not so hard anymore. But I think we'll probably delve into that as well a bit later. But yeah, that was the start of life. And then I made sure I did internships in certain places. And then obviously once I finished with my accounting degree, I was specifically looking for forensic accounting roles. I could not find them.
Why forensic accounting? What is that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I probably should start off with that because most people are like, what, CSI? And I'm like, no, it's not that, guys. So forensic accounting effectively is, the word forensic means for the court. So I'm an accountant, but I produce things which are around either disputes, like court disputes, or for around crime. So they either go to civil court or criminal court. I kind of work on things that are produced for both of those kind of courts. So it's not just doing financial or just putting together financial statements that go for companies and stuff. It's more so looking at things like fraud, even matrimonial disputes, and kind of valuing how much people's assets are worth. So when they get divorced, they can split that in half. breach of contract disputes, like two companies that are just like, oh, I've lost X amount, we now go and actually investigate whether like the actual amount that they've lost and what they're actually entitled to. So it's actually a spectrum of different things. But
exciting, actually. It's like no 2 day must be the same.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So yeah, it can be high pressure at times. Sometimes it can be a bit more, I would say, quote unquote, relaxed, but we do a lot of business development work as well. So we go out to kind of like look for clients and let them know like our expertise and our skills. I think the majority of clients we work with are lawyers. So you have a good insight into their world and how they work as well. So that's forensic accounting in a nutshell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting.
It is.
As I said before. And on that note then, because you've been in that, I guess, the corporate space for a very, very long time, so there must have been some challenges that you would have faced pretty, I guess, throughout your whole career. But are there any, like, especially early on in your career, did you face as a woman from the global majority? So those of you that don't know what the global majority is, I'm sure you'd have heard the term BAME or ethnic minority. So global majority is a new term that refers to 85% of the world who are non-white. So your Africans, your Caribbeans, Latinas, Asians, we make up the global majority. So hence the term global majority. So as a global majority woman, what were some of the challenges that you faced in your career journey? Particularly,
yeah. So like growing up, I'll be honest, I felt like I came from a really diverse background. So going into work and seeing that, for example, there was probably like a majority white team was different. I won't say it was strange, because obviously you still grew up with like the people from different backgrounds, but to see that, oh, in places like this, there's not many people that look like me. So that's probably one of the first things. So seeing the lack of representation, because subconsciously that, you know, when I spoke about like seeing something and then understand foresight, the moment that you walk into an environment like that, your first thing you might ask yourself, if there's no one here in that senior position, can I be in that senior position? So already you're almost like boxing yourself from the start, because you don't see people that look like you. Then the question might come like, why? Why are they not there? What happened? You know, I'm sure there's other black people that wanted to.
Where are they?
Yeah, basically crickets, like literally. So, I mean, that was definitely one of the things that I noticed when I first went into the corporate space. And another thing I would say is like, sometimes feeling a bit invisible at times. So maybe, I don't know if that's, not everyone did it, but I know that I can remember my first internship. There was a particular woman who was supposed to be a manager of she took over someone that went on maternity or something like that, maternity leave. And for some reason, I realized that she always she didn't see me. So weird. It was so strange.
Was she of a different colour?
Yeah. She just kind of acted like I wasn't really
And when you
visible.
say didn't see you, what does that look like? So that
No, exactly. So like, for example, in a team meeting, I was the kind of, for that role, I was the person that kind of like took notes, kind of like not chaired it, but like facilitated the team meeting, made sure the calendar went in people's diaries. Like I was an intern, like they weren't going to give me some like really big work, but that was what I did for that time. And like, she would always refer to everybody but not me. She wouldn't really mention my name. We went to a meeting and I was supposed to present on behalf of some work they've given me before she became the manager. And it's like she went around the table but she acted like I was note taking and I wasn't there for any reason.
But to note take.
Basically.
Wow. So
it's almost like in her eyes I was always in the background. And this is why sponsorship and advocacy is so important.
Would you like to elaborate on that as well once you finish your story in terms of sponsorship and advocacy?
Oh, I can even
do that now.
Yeah, I can even do that now. The sponsorship for me, or the advocacy for me, that was great, was like people were talking for me, basically.
Amazing,
yeah. So I remember this. It was yesterday. So they went around. So I went into the meeting knowing that I had to present on some like particular project that I've been working on. I hadn't updated like my manager knew about it, but other people in other teams didn't know about it yet. I don't know. I was under the pretense that maybe she, once she took over from the other lady, she just wasn't in the know as to what I was doing. Yeah. But I found that she was like, that's not really my place. That would be my manager's place to let her know that maybe this is the agenda for today, and Christabel is coming to do X, Y, and Z. But for some reason, throughout the meeting, she went around the table, completely missed me. I was just sitting there like, do I say something? Do I not say something? And I think that sometimes it's like knowing how to navigate in these spaces and knowing what the right thing to do at the right time.
How do you feel like you knew what the right thing was to do in that circumstance, and it didn't kind of shut you down? Because I think a lot of people go through being invisible, essentially, and that just demoralizes them completely. Yeah. So how did you?
I would actually be authentic and say that I didn't know what to do. That was my first instance of being quote unquote invisible in the room, if that makes sense. So I didn't know what to do. I just kept quiet because I didn't know, even when, like, in my mind I'm like, say something, say it now, say that, and then I'm like, it's like I'm battling myself. So I think eventually I think my manager, or a lady from a completely different team, that was like, oh, I thought Christabel had a little update or presentation that she wanted to give us, and they're just oh, okay. Because what is interesting is somebody else from a different team is now calling my name, and you've ignored me for so long.
And that's your direct manager.
Well, no, exactly. Yeah, she wasn't my direct, but she was like the head of the team. So even more reason why she should really know what's going on. So the moment she does that, it looks like she don't know what she doing.
Can I ask how many people from the global majority was on that team as then?
Probably zero.
So you were the only.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
How did that make you feel?
It hasn't changed much. That's the crazy thing. Over the 12 years, that hasn't changed. I mean, it's probably got worse. Because I think that was even a government sector, and government sector is actually quite diverse from what I see anyway. But I think now, especially in the forensic accounting space, it's predominantly white male. And then even now you're getting some senior women coming there here and there, but I would say for the most part I am always the only black and sometimes the only female in the room.
Oh wow.
So it's a lot of pressure, because you feel like you're representing,
for the most part women as a whole, but then also
black
women.
Exactly. Or black people in general. And as you said, the global majority. I'm basically like the representative of a whole continent. That's crazy.
Amazing.
But it can feel quite intimidating. I'm still working on definitely trying to find my voice when I'm in settings like that, and being able to speak on my own behalf, and like not be hesitant as to when I'm going to speak, or and I think I'm going to bring up mentorship, but this is what kind of changed for me and how I've been able to kind of navigate the corporate space well, and having a mentor. So this mentor, actually, she was a black female partner in
your field, that
I met later on. So that incident I'm speaking about in the first instance, that's like the first time that happened to me.
What stage of your career was that?
Oh, that was like literally at the very start. So I had not even graduated at the time. It was like a sandwich year.
Oh wow.
And I was an intern.
Oh wow. So
for
oh wow.
So I'm like fresh off I don't know anything about corporate, beforehand.
Just your introduction into that.
Exactly. So that's not a great introduction, if I'm going to be honest. I learned some things from that situation, but again, what's great is I had some sponsors and people that definitely had my back, and I felt like they had my back in front of me, and then they also had my back behind me as well. So that's why I would definitely call them my sponsors. I felt like they really sponsored me. And
so I guess it lies on the fact that allyship, I suppose, is very, very important.
It's so key.
It's good to have an ally that is someone, not necessarily an ally, someone who's not from your background or race, but is there to kind of champion you along. I was talking to my mentor today, actually, and she was in a talk a couple of weeks ago, the CEO of Newham Council, and she was saying how, she was kind of like graduated almost to CEO because of not mentorship but allyship. So the person before, kind of there was a board meeting or something like that, a board meeting, and nobody else wanted to speak, and she kind of spoke up on a particular topic, and the guy was like, oh, you know what, I see you, I really do see you, and had like a conversation with her after. It's like I see you, and I think what you said was actually fantastic, and I'm gonna take it upon myself to take you under my wing and like mentor you in a sense. So you know, just kind of identifying, you know, qualities in a person. And I think sometimes as women, generally speaking, but also as women from, you know, African, Caribbean, like black backgrounds or just the global majority backgrounds, we do need to be seen, you know, and there needs to be a sense of allyship in the workplace that kind of pushes us, because there's so much that we are battling against.
No, yeah, literally. I would say, I think my tip for anybody would be understand that you're already visible. If you're the only one in the room, you're visible.
Yeah.
I just use that to my advantage now, because one thing you're not going to forget is that there's a black girl in the room.
That I was here.
Exactly.
I am here.
So we'll use that as a reference point, number one.
Yeah.
And then number two would be my context, or what I say, or how I contribute, or what question that I add. So one of the best tips that I actually literally live by, that I got from a black female partner, from the Big Four, she said, always contribute to a meeting. And when she said, I was like, oh, come on, like, sometimes you just don't want to
speak.
I just want to speak. I just want to, sometimes, you know, they're going back and forth. I don't want to get involved, you know, that kind of thing. But she said that even if you ask the question at the end, or if you even clarify the point, everyone's going to remember that at least you spoke. And also it helps you just practice that kind of self-confidence. Just putting yourself out there, because once you do it once, you shouldn't be as afraid to do it the next time. You're not then afraid to, I don't know, set up the next meeting, or you know,
jump the first hurdle,
exactly.
So the next one should be
exactly. Yeah. So those are like small tips that you can.
That's use. A good one. So don't be afraid to speak, guys. Speak up in that board meeting,
especially if you're already visible. Then
you're already visible.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I think you've kind of touched on the next question I was going to ask, which was about challenges and navigating. Are there any defining moments, though, aside from the one that you've mentioned already, that really tested you as a person in your career space?
I mean, I think they still test me till today, to be honest. I think I do remember someone saying to me like that, the more senior you get, the more challenges you will. It's not necessarily the more challenges, it's just a different level of challenge, if that makes sense, because now you're in different spaces or different boards. Now, you know, when you're in like senior management, you have to now be able to, what's the word? It's not just about your work, it's about your ability to build relationships. And that relationship aspect is so important, because you now also need to be, well, for the most part, you also need to be liked, and people need to see your personal brand. Like, you as a person, you're more out there when you're more senior.
So how have you built that then? Because you said personal brand. So how have you built your personal brand? How do you go about building your personal brand in the workplace? Yeah,
I think, okay, one thing that's helped me is that I ensure that I always stay authentic. So people are going to remember me for one or two or three things. Number one, that I definitely believe in God. Like, everyone at work knows that.
Yeah.
If whether the conversation requires God or not, I'm going to mention him. That's number one. Faith first. So they always remember that about me, right? And it's funny because it's like people self-confess. They come and like, oh, I used to go to church. And I was like, oh, what happened then? You know, like, and then they just want to have this conversation. I don't know if they feel like it's a secret place to kind of like confess and speak to you. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I'm welcome to it. Yeah, and that becomes a point of discussion. I've had loads of those actually. So first and foremost, my faith, and I'll definitely tell you about Ghana. Like, I'm just going to talk about it until
so your culture is very prominent.
Yeah, at the forefront. So these are the things, but these are things about me that I actually enjoy. So just because I'm in a different space, that doesn't change. Because when I'm outside of work,
you're still going to talk about
that. Exactly. Yeah, okay. So bringing your authentic self is, who else are you going to bring? I don't know. Like, if not you, and if the place is not going to accept you, it's not for you.
Yeah, then keep it stepping.
Yeah. Literally, there's too many companies, there's too many things in this world, there's to not be you. Like, it doesn't make sense. And I think, again, I would say something that a key point of realization for me from being a more junior person to now is everything has a purpose. So me even being in the corporate space has a purpose, right? Yeah. Even if I don't know what the purpose is, I must stick to, like, I must know who I am. I must know my identity, not just as Christabel, my identity in Christ. And my identity in Christ tells me that I'm the light of the world, right? So when you know all these things, you then that's when you start to move a bit more like differently. Like,
but then what about someone who does know all those things? They know that they are, they are Christian, or they have a faith, so they know who they are in Christ, or I'm a Christian too, so I'm going to stick to that. They know who they are in Christ, but when it comes to spaces as such, like you said, or maybe they're the only one in that space of their race, and they don't feel heard, and they're then struggling to not maintain their identity in Christ, because I don't think that can shift, but it's just more, I guess, the confidence to, because you can go into a space, when we all left like university, we had like this vision of who we're going to be, and where we were going to be working. I mean, going back to yourself, you said from the age of 10, seeing like Canary Wharf, so you had that aspiration and you fulfilled that aspiration. But someone could have that aspiration, fulfill that aspiration by getting there, but when they get there, it's not what they thought it would be, and they just get lost in terms of trying to navigate through all the biases, all the stereotyping, all the like the judgment, all the speaking again, I've heard things about hair types, changing your hair, and and I guess within the Black culture anyway, in terms of relaxing, wearing a weave. I mean, I'm wearing a wig right now, so things like that. And is it because I'm trying to be accepted by my white counterparts, or just fit into what I deem as corporately acceptable, or dress a certain way because it's corporately acceptable. Do you know what I mean? So how does such a person navigate that?
Right. So I'll go back to like my first point. It's about how you identify yourself, or it's about how you think God identifies you. And that's always going to be the most important thing, respectfully. Whether you wear corporate, whether you don't wear corporate, people always have their perception of you. You cannot change that. So the moment that the quicker that you realize that you can't change that, the better for you. Wherever you go, whatever you do, everybody's going to have a perception. And you cannot control that.
No.
So the moment you let go of that thought, that mind frame, and you start to be like, okay, so I don't know, some people might believe in God, some people might not, but whatever it is, just ensure that you know who you are, and then do what you think is right and stick with that.
So do what is right for you, stick with it, and then
and my only advice I'll say to any Christian person is, if you feel like you're lost and you don't know what you're doing, or it's not making sense, that's when you need to press in with your relationship with God, like deep. That's a
time to pray.
That's a alarm bell for you.
Take out the Bible,
basically. One thing I'll say about the Bible as well, I think so many people like to look for like self-help books and like all these things, but just don't forget that the Bible is literally the bestseller, and it's the bestseller for a reason.
Basic instructions before leaving Earth.
I mean, I can't put a better title on it. And I think that's literally it. That's just so necessary for you to everything. I remember one of my friends would say this as well. Everything in the Bible, everything you see in the self-help book is basically been plugged out of the Bible. There's so many self-help books that actually quote the Bible.
No, you're right. You are right.
Like Proverbs itself has so much. It just has so many gems.
It has so many gems, especially growing as a young person.
Exactly.
Proverbs. My mum was like, that's where we started. Study the book of Proverbs.
That's that. It gets you on point. So as a Christian, press in, pray, read your Bible, just press in your relationship. I'm telling you, like, it's just going to make a difference. It's just going to give you some sort of confidence that like, even if Satan decided to say in front of you, you would feel like, I've got the Lion of Judah behind me. Like it's okay. I can do this. And that's why your identity, knowing who you are and what you bring to the table is so key.
It is important.
Yeah.
I agree with that. All right, shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay, so I think you spoke about this already, because it's I've titled it "Defying Workplace Odds." So I said many women of the global majority encounter roadblocks in their work in the workplace, whether it's through biases or limitations on their growth. So it could be like hindrances for promotion, someone else being promoted over them. They've been given the sob story about it's not time yet, or you've not shown particular skills best as yet. Have you ever encountered such a situation where you felt, which you've kind of said that, you know, not seen, but maybe your voice was minimized, and how did you handle those moments?
Yeah, so absolutely, in different ways, shape and form. So I've had things or situations where I can tell that I'm not given as much work as my counterparts, or people at the same level as me, or that I'm not given certain opportunities and they are. Because sometimes there's like an affinity bias where people tend to they give work and opportunities to people that look like them because they trust them. And that's, to be honest, that's just a psychology of people. Like it is a thing that human beings do. Yeah. That when you see someone, like if I see a black guy at work, we're gonna be friends. Like
it's true.
Because there's just that kind of
to your
you do
to your group.
You do, because if you think about it, like the person I love the most in the world is like a black woman, right? Yeah. So it's not unnatural. Like my actual biological sisters and brothers are black. So the people that you love, if they reflect other people, then you naturally have an affinity for them. However, this is where it becomes a problem, where you favor them above somebody else just because of your own unconscious biases. Then that's when it becomes a problem. So if someone just, flocks to their own, fair enough. But when it becomes, I would say, disastrous or bad, or like anti-diversity, when you somebody else is disadvantaged because of your view of them. So it becomes unfair, and then that's where there's a problem. So that's why I've always been involved in like diversity and inclusion in a lot of the companies I've worked with.
So you do like DEI, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's diversity, equality
and inclusion. Yeah, so that started off in the companies that I was working with. To be honest, it just started off as join our I just got roped into it. I'll be honest, it wasn't something that I was like, I want to do. I was like, okay, if I have to. I found it as an opportunity to network. So I just
So can I ask, actually, on that note with DEI, because more and more companies are putting that as like a job role, so to speak, but it wasn't there like a couple of years back. Are they doing it as a tick box, do you think? Like, it's almost like a tick box. Well, we're saying that we want to understand you guys. So that's why we've got ourselves someone in that particular field to help us. Like, is it a tick box thing? Or?
It can be for some. And you know what? You'll see it.
Yeah.
I think that's the crazy thing about some companies. They think that some of us are blind, that we can't see when it's a tick box exercise versus when it's
just genuinely
done. Because the ones that care do more. Yeah. Right? Because if you care, you do more. If you spend more money on it, then we can see that you're doing more. Yeah. Like there's it's all well and good bringing a DE&I person in, but what results are also coming from the investments that you're making? And is there buy-in from senior management? The most successful D&I, it can be like, so several companies, right? I'm talking about different companies, global companies as well. The most successful D&I, activities or strategies that I've seen, that's because they had buy-in from the very top. Like, so CEOs even getting involved, or head of, EMEA's getting involved, or there's some very senior people in the game who are basically buying in and getting involved in it, because they, when there's a phrase from the top. Yeah. That's a thing. Like culturally, people like to kind of follow the leader. It's what's it called? It's an organizational culture, isn't it? Exactly. So if it stems from the top, it kind of flows through down to your subordinates. And I've seen it done well. Once it's buoyant at the top, it people will follow. Yeah. And you know what? Not everyone's going to be involved in D&I. That's fine. But for me, it's important for organizations to have a culture of tolerance. So tolerance for like the same way that, for example, there's like health and safety rules and regulations. Whether you want to be safe, whether you don't want to be safe, you have to comply, right?
Yeah. But isn't there one anyway for like discrimination? Because you have like your discriminatory acts and stuff, and no one should be discriminated against their race, their gender, their sexual orientation, all that stuff. So shouldn't that then fall under that?
Yeah, no. There definitely are legislations out there. I think there's even more legislations coming out. So they have to comply, but there's so many unreported incidences. Like, not even there's just so many unreported incidences as well. For example, if your manager's, I don't know, doing something to you that you don't think comes under discrimination of race or, of disability. A lot of people don't even, they'll just either endure it and like have a breakdown, mental breakdown, and then maybe leave after, or they'll just leave. So many people don't even report it. Yeah. So that's
more to do with, is it maybe the reason, what they think they will face if they
absolutely
do report it?
No psychological safety, and that's another thing that companies must start looking at. Having psychological safety within their policies, and just even the culture as well. So if you have a culture where if somebody's doing X and Y to you, whether they've implemented like a system in place that you can do like an anonymous reporting, or if there's someone like an ambassador of I don't know, like an ERG, so employee resource group that you can go to and speak to. Like one of the companies I worked in, we had like literally advocates or ambassadors, so people can we kept advertising that you can come and talk to us, but we were just like ordinary employees. We're not like we're not scary, do you know what I mean? So we're not like really senior, but come and talk to us if you have a problem. We'll find a way
to sort it out,
to alleviate the problem. Exactly. We'll find a way. If we need to escalate, then we escalate, but obviously we're not going to do that without your approval. But not everyone wants to go to HR, that's a fact. Not everybody wants to escalate it, the situation. But the reporting part, I think, is actually quite key, and I'm now even getting to see how serious that can be, because I think a lot of us internalize so much.
We do. I don't know if you watched, I think it was on the news last week, the black teacher up north somewhere, and she had faced a lot of discrimination at work. And she, to the point, she only was at work because of her students, but psychologically, mentally, like even hearing her speak on the news, I could hear she wanted to break down. And like it was not a good experience, but I think she got like a payout or something after so long, and then deciding to report it, because it was just really, really bad. But it does have a toll. It has a toll on our productivity.
It does.
Even the fear factor.
Absolutely. And even your outside life is going to get impacted. And that's where it's just too much.
Yeah, the lady said that. She was like, she used to be such a social person, and now she just doesn't go out. She doesn't mix with anyone. Like her life is literally, not deteriorated in the sense maybe like financial and everything, but like the mental aspect of it, which obviously affects the physical.
Absolutely.
As well.
Absolutely. And the sad reality is, if anything happens to you, if you have like a breakdown, if you pass away, you will get replaced in a second.
You are replaceable.
So I think sometimes we need to be mindful and almost like see how important work actually is. It is important to some people are career driven. I'm career driven, right? Yeah. So for me, work is definitely important. But because again, my identity, I know who I am, and I know that I'm going to be successful. I'm not just saying this on camera. That it's going to happen.
Note it down, guys.
I'm just saying. I know. I just know it.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how, but I know it.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen because I serve a big God, and I see anything's capable, definitely. Right? So because I know that, whatever job A wants to do to me, whatever job B wants to do to me, that's fine. Yeah. Like I've been through redundancy, like I've been through many different issues with teams, stereotypes, kind of been almost categorized as the angry black woman because I spoke out.
Microaggressions.
Don't let me start with the microaggressions. Several people touching my hair, people like, poking at me a little bit and, making silly comments, or I've had like the works. But the most important thing is I know who I am. So that's why I keep going. That's what motivates me. That's what keeps me. And I think that's, that kind of, I'm not saying it's good to go through things, but I think let's be realistic. in the world of work, it wasn't made for us. The corporate system wasn't made for the global majority.
Do you think?
No, it wasn't set up like for us. I don't think it was anyway. So because of that, and because it's a very Western structure, we have to understand that we also come from different cultures and we're trying to adapt. Yeah. And that's one thing that probably has kept me going, is just trying to learn how to adapt, trying to peep the game. That's what I call it. Trying to see how people go about doing corporate life.
So would you say that's an advice to those then coming up as well? Like,
absolutely.
Just watch what other people are doing.
You should do that in the first week of you arriving in whatever job and institution that you're going to. The first thing you got to do is check the landscape.
Yeah.
So okay, fair enough. On paper, I don't know, this person might be the boss and this person might be and beneath them there might be 5 people beneath them. Like you suss out the team on paper, then you see it in real life. Yeah. Because I don't know, John's the big boss, it might be actually Kevin that really runs stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just really peep the landscape, see who's actually running stuff, yeah. And then even looking at your manager, see if your manager's going to help you succeed. What do I mean by that? How do they also the allyship? How do they also feed into you? Because I think as a manager, because okay, let me take this analogy. In football, if your player doesn't play well, you get sacked, right? If the same happening, I think so. I think that's what it is, right? Okay. All I know is that the England team, they got rid of that manager real quick. I don't know, when they came back from the global.
Manchester United just sacked their manager too. So
there we go. If you're not producing results, you go. Yeah. But in the corporate world, it's kind of not like that. It's kind of the other way, where sometimes it can be it's a reflection of you. Sometimes you're just not being coached. You're not, your manager's not competent, but it's sometimes become a reflection on you, or they're looking at you like, what's wrong with you, what's going on? And I've had instances where I know that my manager can be good because I see the way they treat the other person under them, because they get on with them, that's their friend. But because I'm not their friend, I don't get that treatment. I don't get that the opportunity in the open doors. But regardless of all that, just peep the game, see if your manager's going to help you or not. If they're not, you need to start thinking about either moving internally, moving to a different team, moving under a different management, or just moving altogether. And honestly speaking, like, people need to take it seriously. I'm even now realizing how seriously I need to take it, because that can either actually stagnate your career. Because it doesn't mean that you're not good.
No, it doesn't.
It just means you have a bad manager, or you're a good manager.
And then you're more prone to just being quiet, even if you do have ideas and you want to put them forward. But I do agree with sussing the ground.
Yes,
that's very, very.
Within the first week, like as soon as possible, as soon as you get there, you start sussing it out. You start talking to different people. They'll start mentioning certain names, and you start sussing out the environment. I wish I knew that when I was young. Like, I wish I knew that. Don't just like go to a job and just be so grateful. I used to be like that. Oh my gosh, it's good to be grateful, but also understand that you're qualified to be there. I didn't get into that role because I was just really beautiful. No. I got there because I'm qualified, and I worked my socks off to be there. So always remember that. And one great advice someone told me in JP Morgan was like, you're employed for a company, but then the company's obviously employed you. You're providing them labor services and they're providing you a salary. But the moment that relationship becomes unequal or unbalanced for whatever reason, there's an issue. And that's sometimes something that you need to fix, whether that's move on or whether that's ask for more salary or something. But we tend to look at jobs like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. Like, even if they treat me bad, I'm just going to be here.
I've got money to pay my bills.
So I'll just kind of like see, next year, I see next year. Listen, nobody I've seen that said next year. Like, it's not really always good. Sometimes it'll get better. I mean,
majority of the time, it's not.
It's not. Happen. Don't waste time. Like, if you know that particular place that you're in is not helping you, or you're not being given fair treatment, and again, if you suss out the ground and see what's going on with the people, I'm not saying like always sit on the bench, always watch. You've got to be doing as well. You've got to definitely be on point with your own work and have that kind of spirit of excellence. I think that's so important, because you also have to have good work. Your work needs to talk for you
it does.
first.
Or other things to kind of
exactly
take place the way you want it to take place.
Exactly.
Otherwise,
but even with that, there's no nothing. You can't be doing bad work and be like, oh, I want a salary. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Definitely put your all into. That's the first. Don't let anyone give people minimal things to say about you. Yeah. So the first thing is they're not going to talk about my work because
that's A1.
That's A1. Yeah. That's number one. And then number two, it's not even a secret, but one thing that people should be very aware of, it's not always about just your work as well. It's about your personality, right? And how people get on with you, how much people like you, how likable you are. How
likable are you? Yeah.
And I don't get me wrong, sometimes the corporate world can also bring out the ghetto in you slightly, because some people will get on your nerves, or some people will do things that it's just like it really gets to your core. Yeah. But it's all in the way that you conduct yourself. Like, how do you even conduct yourself when you're really annoyed and you're really angry? That all.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in the corporate space, but I'm a teacher by profession. But I always get told, "Oh, Rachel's so calm."
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like anything phases you. Even when you're really angry, you're like still smiling. Like, how'd you do it? And I'm just like, okay.
And they probably don't know like how like you've had to like really speak to yourself.
But like, just speaking to myself.
Yeah.
Just keep it. Yeah.
Your
work has to speak for you.
Your work has
100% the ground as well.
Yeah.
That's no matter what industry you're in, whether that's corporate, whether that's public sector,
anywhere really, anywhere there's like work and there's people together. And I would say the last thing is just to I can't say be likable, but have personable skills.
Have
personality as well, because a lot of people, again, they're not getting promoted and they're not being put forward for promotion because they just think it's about putting your head down. Like, nobody really knows anything about you. You need people to be able to speak, multiple people. Think about it this way. You need multiple people to be able to speak about you when you're not there.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to do that is to have...
you are actually talking to people and if you're doing things that are also likable. Exactly. So some people don't even know about my work. Like, they don't know about my work, but I know what they're going to say about me. Yeah.
Because they've even already made comments. Oh, you're quite smiley. Oh, there's one guy, I never worked with him. I always smiled at him. That alone, like, I don't know what he did, but it gingered him so much. Like, he always used to be, oh my gosh. So then if, when my interview feedback, I know that it's funny enough, like from the conversations that they have, like the steering committee, they might sit down and have conversations. Even that feedback still comes back to me, that people said you're so cheerful. And I know that it's people like him that have gone and said that. Behind my back, and that's come back to me. So it's, you think it's just something minor as smiling and things like that, but it goes a long way. And it's again the corporate space, and even like teaching, every industry that you're in, it's a game. Like working is a game. It's definitely, your work has to be excellent. I won't ever not stop saying that. But that personable part of you, sometimes it can be a little bit of a facade. Like, sometimes there's days
it can be
100%.
It always when it comes to me anyway, it always is at work. It always is, but you have to kind of play the system.
You do, because the question is, what do you want from it?
Yeah.
So I don't know, if you're playing this corporate game, play to win. Like, make sure that there is something. If you have a goal in mind, whether that's
that you're achieving it,
whether that's salary, or whether that's recognition, or whether that's being promoted, whether that's even just getting experience so that you can go away and open up your own company, or whatever the case is, make sure that you're making the best use of the reason why you're there. Like, play to win.
I like that.
Pay to win. Like, otherwise there's no point.
Nobody's playing to lose.
No. You can't be there. It's time. It takes your time.
Takes your energy. Waking up at those early hours.
Yeah.
So play to win, guys.
Yeah, play to win.